Welcome back to How I Created This, the podcast where we chat with talented creatives to explore the stories behind their work, their journey, and the process that brings their ideas to life. Today we chat with Taylor Janney-Rovin, a longtime singer, now emerging recording artist. By day, she performs in a traveling children's game show program. In her personal time, Taylor writes, sings, and records her blend of alt pop, indie rock, and country soul music. In this episode, we dive into her creative journey from performing as young as 3 years old to becoming a classically trained vocalist, which ultimately led to a vocal cord surgery and a serious call to rest. Now she is reclaiming her voice by releasing new original music, including her latest track, Sweet Talkin'. We dive into her creative process that led to the song you hear today. Taylor takes us through an incredible story from finding your passion, overcoming roadblocks, and not letting anything stop you from pursuing the creative endeavors that truly make your heart sing. Now let's chat with Taylor Janney-Rovin. Where did you get started in your creative journey? Like when you were a kid, was there something where you're like, oh, I could see myself being creative in this way?
Yeah. I mean, I think your last guest, was it Donnie?
Yeah.
Said it best. Like kids are always making art, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I, for as long as I can remember, have been singing and dancing and making up little songs and skits and plays and things. But singing was always, I think, my first love. And growing up, my parents would listen to music. They're not the most musical themselves, but my grandfather was. My grandfather played mandolin in a bluegrass band.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and his generations, like my great aunt, she plays bluegrass music out in Colorado, and I would go visit her in the summertime and sing with her band. And I just grew up around that generation playing country music and loving country music. And as a result, I just kind of became a little mini country singer. And I was obsessed with the Chicks. My grandpa took me to see them when I was really little, and I idolized them and wanted to be the fourth chick. And Shania Twain, my mom took me to go see. So I was
Oh,
going to
yeah.
concerts really young too. Yeah, like
That's
from first
cool.
grade on.
Do you remember how old you were, like when you started singing? Or like
I
when
have
your first
videos.
performance
Yeah,
was?
as young as like 3, I I won the
Oh, geez.
karaoke contest at the state fair when I was 3, and I'm sure it
Oh
had
my
more to do with me
gosh.
being, yeah, like a cute 3-year-old that was willing to get up there and sing than it did really be having any talent at that age. But I've just always been drawn to singing, and I can remember like being in the bathtub as a little kid and making up songs on the spot and just kind of always writing songs. I didn't realize at the time that's what I was doing, but
Yeah.
it would come really naturally to me at that age when you don't have any self-consciousness
Yeah.
existing in the world and singing about the things that you see. And I would make my grandparents' dogs, because I was an only child growing up. I didn't have siblings until I was older. So I
Okay.
would play with the dogs, and I would like make the dogs be the characters in the scenes with me. And I remember like playing Pocahontas with the dog as the raccoon and like singing Colors of the Wind outside in my grandparents' yard. And on the playground at school, I was always singing and acting things out. So I think it's just kind of been a part of who I am since I've been born.
That's so cool. Do you feel like when you were singing, you always felt like you were like performing as well? Because I think there's some like musicians where like they're really great singers or playing an instrument, but like performing isn't always part of their skill set. And then I think there's some people where like they love to put on a show, but maybe they're not the best singer. So like in your mind, like as a little kid, like, and just seeing your family members performing, like, did you always feel like that kind of went hand in hand?
Now that you mention it, I do. I don't think that's something that I was aware of, but I do remember having kind of a flair for the dramatic. Like staring out the window of the passenger seat of the car, like imagining the music video that was happening in my own inner
Yeah.
world.
That's so funny. So you said you listened to a lot of country music like when you were a kid too?
Yeah, yeah. My first influences were hand in hand like country music and then 90s pop, like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, like
Yeah.
Celine Dion was my first concert. Like I loved the diva pop stars of that time.
That's great. And then like so I think like what's really cool about your story as well is like obviously knowing you now like you're a great singer and like you were a kid you were singing but like in between a lot has gone on like with your voice and like everything like that. So like can you go through a little bit of like where you went from a kid performing and singing all the time to like how that took you into your adult years?
Yeah. So as a kid, like I said, everything kind of came naturally, and I wasn't necessarily trained until I was a little bit older. So
Mhm.
for me, I just loved singing and performing, and I put on shows in the comfort of my own home. It wasn't until eighth grade my mom saw an ad in the local paper for like a performing um, school, like a community theater, but a little elevated.
Wow, throwback, the newspaper.
Yeah. She saw in the Gazette, like our local rural paper, they were putting on a black box performance of Smokey Joe's Cafe. And I had no idea what that was, but it was at our local theater. And she was like, oh, we should go check this out. And I went to the audition. I had never been to an audition in my life. My mom wound up getting kicked out because she also had never been to an audition and she was trying to like advocate for me, but became a stage mom a little bit because I didn't have sheet music. Like I didn't even know that you were supposed to prepare a 16 bar cut or anything like that.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
tea.
I was a fish out of water, like completely out of my element. But the director, who wound up being a really important mentor of mine, he like saw that I had potential and was like, okay, just sing happy birthday. Like, we'll figure it out. I was a diamond in the rough kind of.
That's
And
great.
they took pity on me and they cast me. And so from eighth grade through high school, I like got more serious about training. And I've always had like a raspy, soulful quality to my voice that we didn't realize was vocal damage until I got to the collegiate level. So when I was
Oh
in
wow.
yeah. So I kind of just thought it was my sound and it was like this unique quality. But then when I started training in a really, conservatory style program that was super intense and competitive and rigorous, like my voice teachers there were like, something's off with your voice. And I wound up seeing ENTs and getting scoped and realizing that I had had nodules that like probably were there for most of my life. And it was an interesting fork in the road because the doctor was essentially like, look, if these aren't hurting you, there's like no harm, no foul. You can just
Yeah.
kind of rest and like take it easy and maybe they'll go away. But I was in such a pressure cooker of an environment and I had a lot of professors in my ear being like, you need to take care of this. Otherwise, you need to drop out. I was a junior heading into my senior year. And there were a lot of big opportunities coming up, like showcase for audition or for like agents and managers. And, I would be graduating and going out into the professional world. So I didn't really feel like I had the choice to rest and take it easy.
Yeah.
I kind of got like pressured into having a surgery that cut to now, like a few months ago, the ENT I saw in the city was like, you never should have done that. It was so unnecessary. Like we would never prescribe that to someone in your circumstances. And I'm just like, great, more BFA trauma. But at the time, it felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah. So what were the like ramifications of that kind of procedure?
So I couldn't talk for a long time. I like all summer long had a whiteboard and I have to walk around with and like was on really strict vocal rest. Yeah. And then, like it was no alcohol, no like any of that fun stuff. And that was also the summer I turned 21. So my 21st birthday was a real party, not. But yeah, I remember like the silence of it all, like having to just be on really intense vocal rest. And the whiteboard was really specific. Like,
Yeah. Was it weird going from like singing all the time so like intensively and having that be a part of your day to day to like going silent? Like, what was that like?
awful. I hate rest. Like I'm not programmed for rest. I'm very much Energizer Bunny, go, 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 go. So it's difficult for me to take a step back, and I'm learning as an adult to frame it more as like taking care of me. Like it's not a punishment, like it's more of a opportunity, I would say. So I've recently been in a similar situation, or like my job now, I'm performing daily in a slightly different capacity, but I'm using my voice a lot, and I'm feeling the strain again, and I'm feeling like a lot of tension in my voice. And when I went back to the ENT as an adult, it was really triggering to get scoped and then be like, yeah, like there's, some swelling around your cords, like you need to rest, you need to stay hydrated, you need to do all of these things to keep yourself healthy. And I really had to intentionally frame it as an opportunity to like take care of myself and navigate this vocal challenge in a different way than I did when I was younger. And also realize that there's no shame in it. Like, of course, my voice is hoarse. I've been performing all summer long, screaming at children and, working outside and like not having the best sound systems or not taking the time to warm up. Like, I've been sick, I've been traveling. Like, there's so many reasons why I'm in this situation. It's not because there's something inherently wrong with me, which was how I had interpreted things in the past, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think just creatives in general are just people who like to just be busy and productive. And I think part of the world is just like, you need to be productive, you need to be doing stuff all the time. And then it's kind of like, it's easier to just keep the freight train going and going than to try and make it stop. Like, it almost takes more energy to stop than to just keep going when you're like already have that momentum. But it's like so important and vital, and like especially like you'll feel it in your mind sometimes, but then you're like, no, gotta keep going. Like the mind is so powerful. And then it's like something physically happens and your body is like, we are taking a rest, whether you like it or not. I will force you to rest.
That's what
if
it
that's
gets
what
to.
it's gonna
That's what it
take.
gets to for me. Like this summer, I was pushing through. So for context, I work for a touring children's entertainment company, and we perform in the summertime almost every day, up to like 8 to 10 shows a week. So even more demanding than a Broadway contract in some capacities. And I kept pushing through. We're a really small team. Like I felt like I had to, show up for every single performance. And my body got so run down that I was like oozing out of every orifice of my face. It was like I had a sinus infection. It like did the post-nasal drip down my throat. And then I had an eye infection. Like the sinus infection wasn't enough. It was like, okay, we're going to start boogering out of your eyeballs because like you have to stop. Like, what is it going to take for you to stop and to rest? And it took all of that, but here I am.
Yeah. And is your job like mostly in the summer, or do you still do programs throughout the school year?
Our busiest season is the summer, but we also do programming throughout the
Okay. So like you'll be able to maybe like scale back a little bit, or I guess like what did you learn this time than last time of like taking a break? Like what are you going to do differently than you might have in the past?
As sad as it is, I'm learning that your 30s are a lot different than your 20s. Like I am operating from the mindset of when I last did this, when I was 22 and had just graduated college and went on a children's tour, and I could bounce back. Like we could, have a party after the show, and I could be hungover in the morning and still drive 8 hours to the next location. Like can't do that. Can't do that at 33. 23, yeah, different stories. I think it's like the daily routine of taking care of yourself, right? Like thinking about what's going to be the best decision for tomorrow's version of me today. rather than hoping and wishing for the best tomorrow.
Yeah. Do you have any other like creative outlets other than like singing and performing? Like when you're like resting or anything, is there anything else like you enjoy doing that you can kind of like get that energy out?
Yeah, I love to write, and I'm challenging myself now to do a lot more writing. Like, okay, you can't necessarily record right now. You need to rest your voice. So, what can you write that then, when you're feeling better, you'll be able and ready to record? So, I'm noticing that there's kind of a cycle to that of like output, and then you got to fill the tank back up before you can do another big thing.
Yeah. What is so you're also a songwriter. So when you're writing, do you have like a specific process into how you sit like how you write your songs, how you create like, what you want it to sound like and obviously like you kind of have a country pop like what are the different steps you go into from like the theme of the song, what you're gonna talk about, like, what's your process with that?
Yeah, it varies a little bit project to project. Usually, a lyric and a melody will kind of come to me simultaneously. So I'll think of something and hear in my mind how it goes. And then it's using that as kind of the branch into what it will become. So for my most recent single, Sweet Talkin', I was just kind of playing with a super basic three chord structure. And the opening line, the sun's coming up on the east side of town, back in Brooklyn, you kissed me on the sidewalk, is what came to me. I was like, okay, what can I build around this one line? Like, I hear how that goes. I have this one line. Like, where can I take it from here? But other times, I've maybe had a chorus to start with, or just an idea, like a general, I want to write a song about X. And so then I'll sit myself down and write a song about X. But it definitely depends on the projects and kind of like the place that I'm in any given moment. I am limited by what I can play. So I have found, especially recently as I've been working with producers and getting in the studio, that I really love to collaborate with musicians. Like I am a singer-songwriter. I'm not necessarily a musician. I can strum a little bit, but when I have someone who has facility with an instrument, then it really opens up the possibilities of what we can create together.
Yeah, definitely. Where do you, like, connect with creatives like that? Is it people that you already know, or do you have, like, an idea for a song and then you're like, "Oh, who would be good for that kind of vibe?"
Yeah, as a baby, like emerging artist where I'm at right now, it's mostly been folks that I know. I am at a point or reaching a point where I'm really eager to like connect with other creatives. So I've started to seek out opportunities for that. Like I just signed up for a songwriting class here in New York City that I'm hopeful will maybe bring about some new collaborators. I've been looking for like events that I can go to and meet new people. There's a organization called Gaia Music Collective. They do like these really cool songwriter workshops that I've started going to and have met people through that. But yeah, I think it's mostly just being willing to put yourself out there and ask for what it is you're looking for, like doing a call to the universe on social media or asking friends who they know that might be a good collaborator.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, what's great about like social media and just reaching out to people online is just you may never run into that person, but you're able to find them online. Like when I first started like portrait photography in Nashville, I worked at a hotel and there was a lot of like aspiring like musicians and models and stuff. So I just have friends that I would be like, "Oh, would you want to like take photos and stuff?" And then, I'd post a photo of them and then they'd have a friend who'd be like, "Oh, we should do something together." And then it's just interesting to see how that all like branches out and um I don't have any musical capabilities, so I always think it's so interesting. I'm like, I would not even know where to start. Like, do you always write about things that personally happen to you, or do you write about like general like topics, or like what part of the songwriting process like do you enjoy having that be your outlet to be creative?
Yeah, I definitely think everything is at least inspired by something that I can personally connect to. There's one except I've written a song that's about my grandparents, like from a story that my grandfather told me, which is I think the one exception to the rule. But typically, it's like a journal entry brought to life, right? Like I have some kind of personal experience, and the only way that I can really process it is through song. Um, I feel like there's a lot of human experiences that are impossible to capture in words. And not that my lyrics do them much justice, but like putting it to music is helpful in like fully realizing what that experience was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Cause I was listening to Sweet Talk and I was just like, who's she talking about? Like, I'm always like intrigued. Like, is it, always, yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, cause there's some artists where, people even say like, oh, like, I love Dua Lipa, but I've heard some people be like, oh, well, the topics are never very specific to her. They're always like general, which I kind of like that because you can kind of put your own story to it. But then there's other artists where it's way more specific and it kind of makes me wonder like, oh, what moment inspired this, or a person half the time. Like I always like to know,
Well,
like
I think that's what makes a
it
great
makes it
song, right?
interesting.
Is
Yeah.
yeah, having it be really specific and personal, but also universal. You have to be able to balance both. Like you have to be willing to share a piece of your soul because audiences crave that intimacy and that authenticity, but they also need to be able to connect with it themselves. So
Mhm.
I really strive in my lyrics to strike a balance of that, of like, what details can I add that are specific to this moment that I experienced, but how can I frame it in a way that any audience member can also connect with?
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Um, and like one of your lyrics was specific to New York, and I think what's cool, especially with art, is how much like your location can really affect your creative process. Like you were saying, like, oh, connecting with people I know, so I'm going to local things in the area, or maybe I'm traveling and something inspires me while I'm on my travels. But like being that you live in New York and it's obviously like a very influential place, like how much of that affects how you create and like what inspires that process?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Location for sure, but I think also the characters. Like you read a lot of really interesting people in New York, and a lot of the subjects of my songwriting have been people that I've dated. So I think that meeting them in New York is like also a very specific experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I also think it's interesting in my songwriting process how much comes later. Like, Sweet Talkin' is about a guy I dated a decade ago, but
Yeah,
for
I
whatever
was
reason,
yeah, I was kind of curious.
so long ago, like this bad boy that has no place in my life anymore, but the experience of that situationship was so formative that I can't fully move on in my life without expressing what it meant to me or what it was at the time in some way. And I
Yeah.
like I would never have met this person if it weren't for New York City.
Yeah.
And I think that's true about a lot of who my songs are about more than it is the fact that I live in New York City. If that
Yeah,
definitely
definitely.
did.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting how like certain ideas you could just sit on them for the longest time and they just like need to marinate for as long as they need to until they're ready to be expressed. Like sometimes I'll come up with an idea and I'm like, oh, that would be so cool, write it down. And it may be a couple of years before I'm like, okay, at this point in my life, with the skills that I have now and the person that I want to create with, or the place that I want to create at, like, this is the time to do it, you know? So I think it's interesting. You've had this experience happen to you 10 years ago, and, you know, this summer you're like, okay, I'm writing this song, I'm putting it out. Like, how long does it take you to, like, how long does your process take? I'm sure it varies, but like, when did you write it, and like, when did you record it? And, you know, it just came out, what was it, last Friday? So what's the timeline typically for you? Because I find that so interesting. I don't, you know, as far as the musical process.
It happens quick and it happens slow. Like, usually have a stroke of genius where I'll have some idea, I'll immediately get to work on it, and I'll just crank it out. But then there's such a lull in between. Like, I find that I really have to get out in the world and live my life. And like, when the inspiration strikes, like, then I will have something to work on and to produce. So for Sweet Talkin', I got the idea for that line a couple months ago and was able to kind of bang out a song in maybe a day or two. And then from there, when I decided that I wanted that to be the next thing I recorded, probably took like 3 or 4 sessions over the course of 2 months. Then it was maybe like a month after the last session before it released. So I would say like 3 to 4 months for this particular project. But again, it's about a relationship that happened 10 years ago. So it's like you say, like, ideas get put up on the shelf, and when it's the right time to make them happen, then you make them happen. But like, the first song I ever wrote, I was in my early 20s, maybe like 22, 23. And that I wrote in one night. Like, and it was shortly after the experience. That was just like how I had to process this another situation that I was involved in. It's always a situationship.
Always.
That's the best stuff.
Yeah, for real. That's so funny. Yeah,
But like, that song I've yet to record in the way that I want to. So that's one that's on the shelf, and like, maybe it will come back around. But I wrote it in one night and it hasn't come out yet. So it's just kind of like what you feel compelled to focus on. And for me too, giving myself the homework assignment of setting a release date. So like with Gemini, my debut single, the goal was just to create something from nothing and put it out into the world, because for so long in my life, I had just sat on ideas and doubted myself and never really taken action. So I was like, all right, you're going to have until May 24th. Like, this is the day that you're going to release it. You don't have anything written. So let's see what you can come up with. Here are your parameters. Go.
yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way, like, especially just balancing like work projects with personal projects, like having that deadline can be crucial to like getting the project finished, you know? That's why I love like Halloween or like a holiday where I'm like, if I have like an idea, I'm like, well, I have to get it done this day. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about was all, like, also your personal life obviously has a part in like your creative process, but like, who are some other creatives that inspire you, whether it be like other musicians or like anyone that can just like get you in a creative mood, or just anything really, anyone.
Yeah. I mean, musical artists are kind of the top of mind for me. I love Brandy Carlisle, Nico Case, Casey Musgraves.
Oh yes, I love her.
Yeah, I love singer-songwriters. Like, I love artists who are willing to really put themselves out there and like share their soul with an audience. And I love like Nico Case, especially. Her songs don't make any sense to me, but they're like so rich with this incredible imagery and lyricism that I'm just like, I want to be in your brain. Like, what are you thinking in any given moment? And how do you take your experiences and turn them into this poetry that's set to music? Like, I want to do that. And I feel so far from what she does. Like, but I think it's putting yourself not in competition, but like holding yourself in the world of the people that you idolize. Like, I do that for myself personally too. Like when I look for collaborators, I'm always looking to people who I think are ahead of me in the game. Like I want to be in the room with people who are one step ahead that I can learn from, that I can just absorb all of their kind of confidence or like creativity. And when I find people like that, I'm so excited to just make anything. Like what can I learn from you is always my driving question. I like to be in the room with people who, yeah, I can learn from, that know something more than I do.
Yeah, definitely. That's how you grow and just have new experiences. So I totally hear you on that. And I think like you can learn from people in different ways. Like maybe they don't have as many years experience, but they have like great ideas, or they're willing to be vulnerable, or they put themselves out there, in a unique way. So I think there's just so many different ways you can learn from people, but also so many different people that you can learn from, just to have that outside perspective.
Yeah, anybody who is willing to confidently put themselves out there, even if they're faking it until they make it, like those are the people that I look up to because for so long I was so afraid of sharing myself because I let the negative voices tell me no, tell me I wasn't good enough, tell me I was, bad or that there was something wrong with my voice. And then the more that I grow and I see people just like being authentically themselves and chasing their dreams and going after what they want, like that's the type of person that I want to be. And those are the people that I look up to.
Yeah. What are you like most excited about for the future, or any future projects or anything that you could?
Yeah. Well, my goal is to write an album, which is scary, but that's why I know it's a good idea. I want
Yeah.
I want to write like I've been doing these little one-off like ad hoc projects, and now I really want to go big. Like go big or go
Yeah.
home, right? Write the damn thing. And I can do it. Like so it I know that I can do it. I just have to have the discipline to do it. So I'm this fall, like really dedicating myself to taking time every day to like write, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, see what comes of it and work towards a full album.
That's exciting. Yeah, a big project to really like tell a full story and just have like variations of like sound, but having it all come together, I think is still so special, even though where we're kind of at, like most songs you just hear like a little snippet of, but there's just something that goes viral, or like, just one song at a time. But there are so many people, including myself, that want that full story and just have that variety and like experience our favorite artists in like a full way like that. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, and something that I'm trying to stay focused on as I continue in my creative journey is doing it for me. Like it's so easy in this society and culture that we live in of virality and trying to like make it in an industry where you can't make it unless you're a nepo baby, by the way. Like let's be real. I am not expecting to make money off of music anytime soon or really anytime at all. So like that's why I have to stay grounded in the idea that this is for me. It's because I have to express myself. I have no other way but to do it through writing and through singing. And that it's, so that I feel accomplished and proud of myself at the end of the day, not so that someone will like it or repost it or that it will blow up on some TikTok.
Yeah. And I think that's a great sentiment for all creatives in general right now, is we all have some sort of platform, and just having that time and that intention of just wanting to be creative and express yourself, and that's the reason you're doing it to begin with, like not losing sight of that when you're, also trying to grow and get your art out there and, have other people see it, as like, don't forget why you're doing it and what you really want to express. And in the end, that's what people are going to gravitate towards anyway.
Right. And I think too, and how do you want to spend your time? Right. Like you get this one life, you get this one chance on earth. Like, how do you want to spend your days? How do you want to fill your time? And especially now, right? Like, it's really depressing, the world that we live in. So, like, what can you do to bring yourself joy in these dark times? And I think for a lot of us, the answer is to create and to have fun. Like, I'm just trying to have fun in the little time that I can have fun, because so much of what else is going on is not fun.
That was Taylor Janney-Rovin, an inspiring singer, songwriter, and recording artist, sharing the stories behind her creative process on How I Created This. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and review the show. And if it resonated with you, share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe to our monthly zine for exclusive content and announcements. Our artist submission is now open if you'd like to be featured next. Also, check out our merch shop's latest drop. All of this can be found on our website, dopecinema.com. Your support means the world to us, and we cannot wait to keep bringing you more inspiring stories from creatives across every genre. Until next time, bye guys.